Okay, my name is Sheldon Williams. This is my major project for sociology, Introduction to Sociology. The title of my poem is Reflections in the Social Mirror. Here go my poem. In a world shaped by systems both near and wide, where our choices and thoughts don't just stem from inside, sociology whispers, your story's not long. It's written in culture, in flesh, and in bone. Social facts bind us, rules we never wrote. In schools, in laws, and what we tweet or quote. Constructivism shows our meanings are made, not found in nature, but carefully laid. Figuration dances between self and the crowd. The personal is public, the silent is loud. Hypothesis form the scholar's keen mind, probing the patterns that others may find. We center our ways, ethnocentrism reigns, but cultural relativism breaks those chains. Xenocentrism longs for a life not of our own. Alienation makes even full rooms feel alone. The iron cage traps us in reason's tight grasp as capitalism squeezes with profits cold class. Enemy lurks when norms fall apart. Rationalization replaces the heart. Yet with imagination, sociological and vast, we see how the future connects with the past. Through micro behaviors like texts that we send to macro structures that never quite end. Okay. My poem explores core sociological concepts and how they shape both personal and collective lives. Sociology is a scientific study of society, social relations, and institutions. It helps us understand how external forces like norms, values, and structures influence behavior and thought. The sociological imagination, a term coined by C. Wright Mills, allows us to connect personal experience to larger social context. For example, my experience of pressure in school isn't just personal. It reflects social structures like education systems and cultural expectations of success. Okay, now to the questions. First question. Explain how sociology is significant in your personal experience. Sociology is significant in my personal experience because it has helped me understand that the challenges I face, whether academic stress, economic pressure, or even relationship dynamics, are influenced by a larger societal forces. Instead of feeling isolated, I learned to contextualize these issues within broader systems. For example, understanding the role of social institutions like education and economy helps me realize that my college workload isn't just personal. It's shaped by national expectations, cultural values, and institutional rules. 2. Explain how the sociological imagination helps you understand the impact of sociology in your own life. The sociological imagination, a term coined by C. Wright Mills, helps me see the connection between my life and historical or structural forces. For instance, I used to believe my stress from working part-time while attending school full-time was solely my problem. But now I see that it reflects deeper issues like rising tuition costs, job market instability, and cultural narratives about success. Sociology gives me the tools to view my situation not as isolated, but as shaped by history and society. 3. Include definitions of the following: sociology, the sociological imagination, and social force. Examples: culture, social structure, socialization, or social institutions. Sociology is a scientific study of society, social relationships, and institutions. The sociological imagination is the ability to connect personal experience to larger social and historical contexts. Social forces include culture, social structure, socialization, and institutions, systems that influence behavior, values, and interactions. Culture is the shared beliefs and practices of a group. Social structure refers to patterns, social arrangements like class and roles. Socialization is the process through which people learn norms and values. Social institutions, examples, family, education, religion, are organized systems that guide behavior. Question 4. Briefly explain the relationship between the individual and society. The relationship between the individual and society is dynamic and reciprocal. Society shapes our behaviors, values, and opportunities, yet individuals can influence social change. For example, social movements led by individuals have shifted laws and cultural norms throughout history. Each person is embedded in a larger web of interactions, expectations, and systems. 5th question. Identify examples of either individual behaviors or personal experiences that carry significance at the micro level. At the micro level, one example of behavior that carries sociological significance is how I change the way I speak around different friend groups, known as code switching. It reflects broader social expectation tied to class, race, or group membership. Another micro example is social media posting habits, which show how people adapt their identity based on audience and platform norms. 6th question. Identify examples of either agents of socialization, large secondary groups, or formal organizations that shape your individual behavior or personal experience at the macro level. At the macro level, my experience in the public school system has deeply shaped how I view work, discipline, and authority. Schools are agents of socialization that reinforce norms and values. Other examples include religious institutions and mass media, both of which influence beliefs, routines, and decision-making in powerful ways. 7. Briefly explain how sociological theory and research can be used to help you understand the relationship between individual and society. Sociological theory provides a framework for interpreting how individuals and social structures interact, while research uncovers patterns and evidence. For example, understanding how economic class influence educational access helps explain personal experiences of inequality. Theories and studies reveal not just what happens, but why, giving deeper insight into behavior and change. 8. Briefly explain the sociological theory. Examples: structural functionalism, conflict perspective, symbolic interactionism can best be used to understand the relationship between individual and society. Why? I believe symbolic interactionism best explains the relationship between the individual and society. It focuses on how people assign meanings to symbols, interact based on those meanings. This theory shows how identity, norms, and culture are negotiated in everyday interactions, helping explain how the self and society shape each other continuously. 9. Final question. 9. Briefly explain which research methodology, quantitative, qualitative, can be best used to understand the relationship between individuals and society. Which specific research methods would you use? Why? The qualitative research methodology is best for understanding the relationship between individuals and society because it captures in-depth and personal insights. I will use interviews and participate observation to explore how people experience and interpret social forces. These methods allow for rich storytelling and detailed understanding that numbers alone can't provide. All right, that's the end of my project.